This video will review the hydraulic brake bleeding for Campagnolo disc brakes using the Park Tool BKM 1.2 Mineral Hydraulic Brake Bleed Kit. For other brakes, see our video playlist. Brake bleeding is primarily performed to remove air from the brake system. Additionally, bleeding the brakes will replace contaminated fluids. Brake bleeding requires a thorough technical knowledge of the braking system. If in doubt, or if your procedure is not working, contact the brake manufacturer's website for their model-specific information. It is important to always use the appropriate brake fluid for the brake being serviced. Never use a DOT-type fluid in brakes designed for mineral oil. Conversely, never use the mineral oil in brakes designed for DOT fluid. Mixing fluids can cause damage to the components and lead to brake failure. Additionally, you should never share bleed kits between the DOT and the mineral oil. Typical tools and supplies for this procedure include a compatible bleed kit such as the Park Tool BKM 1.2, appropriate mineral oil for the system, hex wrenches, MWF3 or 8mm box wrench, plastic tire levers, clean rags, isopropyl alcohol. Safety glasses and gloves are always a good idea in brake bleeding. Before we get to the procedure, let's identify the key parts of the brake lever and caliper that are used in the bleeding process. The caliper body will have a brake pad retention screw here. The brake bleed port screw is in the middle of the bleed nut. This outer nut opens the system after the screw is removed. The brake lever will have a reach adjustment screw in front of the lever. Some generations of levers also have a free travel setting here. The bleed port screw for the lever is located under the hood. For front brakes, there is already a consistent uphill travel from caliper to lever. For rear brakes, it may be necessary to lower the stand as you rotate the bike. A handlebar holder helps manage the bike as well. With the wheel out of the way, remove any clip, brake pad retention screw, and the brake pads. Push the pistons back into the caliper body, pressing from the middle of the piston. Install the 10mm bleed block. Install the syringe holder above the caliper. Now prepare the brake lever. If the inside of the lever body is marked with an L and S for a free travel setting, pull the lever and use a 2.5mm hex key to turn the adjustment to S for the bleeding process. Not all generations have this adjustment, so simply ignore this step if it is not present. However, for all generations, adjust the brake lever reach so the lever is all the way out. Lift the rubber hood from the front and roll it back to expose the bleed port screw. Tie a rag around the lever body to prevent any fluid from getting on the hood. Select a hose with a threaded fitting on both ends to attach to the syringe. Only one end of the hose will secure into the syringe. Now thread the gold adapter to the other end. Fill the syringe with Campagnolo compatible fluid. Hold syringe upright with hose vertical. Pull back a bit to clear the tubing on the syringe, then push on the plunger until the fluid comes up to the end of the hose. At the caliper, remove the screw at the center of the bleed valve lock nut. The system is still closed with the screw out. Place an 8mm wrench over the bleed nut, such as the MWF3. Thread the adapter into the port. Attach the syringe to the syringe holder. Now prepare the lever. Thread the blue threaded adapter to the bleed cup. Remove the bleed port screw at the top of the lever. Thread in and gently snug the blue adapter with the bleed cup attached. Reposition the wrench as needed and loosen the bleed nut only 1/4 turn to open the caliper system. Push fluid from the syringe upward to the cup. Watch for any bubbles coming out of the system. If the fluid coming out appears dirty, push the remaining syringe fluid into the caliper and tighten the bleed nut. Dispose of the fluid in accordance with any local ordinances and begin again with fresh fluid. As you push the plunger, pay attention not to introduce air. Stop before the plunger pushes a bubble into the caliper. Pull back on the syringe to pull fluid back down. Repeat the cycle a total of 3 times, moving the fluid up and then back down through the caliper. On the last cycle of moving the fluid up to the lever, snap the lever repeatedly while pushing the fluid in. This helps dislodge any bubbles that may be left. Tighten the bleed nut at the caliper. Now remove the hose with adapter. Install the bleed port screw and secure. Install the plunger into the funnel and unthread the blue adapter from the brake lever. Reinstall the bleed port screw and secure. Squeeze the lever with force. It should feel firm. If it does not feel firm, there is air in the system. You will need to re-bleed the brake. When the lever feels firm, the system is successfully bled. Clean the caliper and lever using a clean rag and alcohol. Remove the bleed block from the caliper and reinstall the brake pads. Then reinstall the brake pad retention screw and any clip. Reinstall the rubber hood. Return the lever to the previous settings. Install the wheel and align the pads to the rotor. See pad alignment in our video playlist. After bleeding, remove the hose from the syringe and remove adapters from the hose. Make sure the hose clips are open. Let the hoses drain. Dispose of used fluid as prescribed by your local waste authorities. That's how you bleed Campagnolo brakes using the Park Tool Hydraulic Bleed Kit BKM 1.2.